Hey guys, this is Tauna, and apparently my green screen doesn't like Pikachu. Today we are going to be talking about the face commanders for Duskmourn. They're all revealed now. We're going to be going through some cards that are going to go really, really well in these decks if they're not within the Precons. So just kind of keep that in mind that some of these may be reprinted in the Precons because they are going to be absolutely bonkers. But some of them, you know, the ones that I think are going to be really strong but are potentially going to be printed in there, I'll explain why I don't think they will be. Also, you know, some of them are going to be Universes Beyond stuff, which won't likely be. I also have thoughts about the Vavo Commander. I actually really don't like it. Yeah, which might be a bit controversial, but we'll see. And overall, I do think that the Precons look like they're going to be fun and interesting, which is pretty good. I like the idea of, you know, some interesting kind of Precons coming out. So couple things first, make sure you guys subscribe at the moment. You know, watch time from non-subscribed people's like 90%. So even if, you know, 10% of the people that watch this subscribe, we can easily hit 5,000, and we are so close, right? Like this picture was from last night, so it's a little bit out of date. I think I'm at like, you know, 30, 40 more subscribers since then. So I'm pretty excited to hit this 5,000. And what should we do for 5,000? Should we do a giveaway, a Q&A? Let me know what you guys think as well. And if you guys are going to be buying stuff, make sure you support the channel, pick up some of the cheapest cards around. The link below for TCG Player. All right, so the Precons, obviously, you know, 4 new Precons. The first one we're looking at is Aminatu Veil Piercer. She has, at the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 2, and then each enchantment in your hand has Miracle. Its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost, reduced by 4. Now, I double-checked that with this, it will work and all that kind of stuff. We weren't entirely sure. Someone on my previous video pointed out that, you know, because of the way the change of the card goes, it may not work, but it does work. I double-checked with the guys over at Wizards. So, stuff like Fortune Teller's Talent to start off with. I think that this kind of stuff is going to be pretty strong because you've got the Surveil, so you're going to be surveilling stuff into your graveyard. So we want to do like a combined, if it doesn't come in the Precon, a combined like playing stuff from your graveyard and playing stuff from the Miracle. This also allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time, so you can look at it at the start of like your upkeep before you surveil, and then after you surveil, you'll be able to still look at it and everything to just be able to kind of get an idea. And you can get some of those instant speed surveil stuff, so you can surveil prior to doing your first draw, which is how Miracle works. It's the first card you draw per turn. It also means that, you know, if you draw a card on someone else's turn, it will work as well. We've got Aminatu, the Fate Shifter. I doubt this will get reprinted, even though it will be bonkers in it, because of the fact that there is already a version of Aminatu in it. I don't think they'll print 2 versions of the same character within the same Precon. But this is insane because of the fact that it's got the +1, draw a card, then you get to put a card from your hand on the top of your library. So you can essentially set up a future Miracle, which is pretty cool. We've got the Scroll Rack here. Pay 1, tap, exile any number of cards from your hand face down, put that many cards from the top of your library into your hand, then look at the exiled cards and put them on the top of your library in any order. So you can set up, again, future Miracles. We've got the Palantir of Orthanc. This is one of my favorite cards of all time. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on it and then scry 2. Then a target opponent may have you draw a card. If they don't, then you mill X cards, where X is the number of influence counters on it, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value. So the way the Aminatu deck works, we want big enchantments, right? We want big, expensive enchantments. So this is going to make it so that people are going to have to do this. They most likely will just choose allowing you to draw a card because of the fact that, you know, we've got the milling and stuff, but because it's just draw 1 card but it's scry 2, you can potentially set up again a Miracle from the future. Bolas Citadel, just another one that lets us look at the top card of our library, but then also you can play the top card of your library by paying that life equal to its mana cost. Again, expensive enchants, so we can do this really well. The sister cards from the Warhammer deck, these are going to be great in this because they've all got Miracle. We don't want just enchantments to have Miracle, in my opinion. Like having other stuff with Miracle is a good idea too. We've got Temporal Mastery. Take another turn after this one, exile it. So this is a Miracle, 1 and a blue to be able to do this, which is great. 1 with the multiverse, a huge enchantment that's only going to go 2 and 2 blue. Insane. Play a card for free, Really great. Again, looking at the top of your library, we were doing a lot of kind of top deck synergy with this deck. Struggle for project purity. This one here is I don't think this one's going to get reprinted just because it was really tied into the Brotherhood storyline and stuff. This isn't going to get reprinted because it's from the Fallout set, so Universes Beyond. I doubt they're going to reprint any yet, but this is going to be great, either allowing everyone to draw a card and then you draw extra cards, or whenever a player attacks you get twice that many rad counters, so you get to make people get rad counters and mill them with this. I think it's going to be good, either drawing cards or and this is at the beginning of your upkeep as well. Extravagant replication. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent, so we can make a token really easily of a whole bunch of stuff with it. Enhanced surveillance. Every time we surveil, we're going to surveil 2 extra times, or look at 2 additional cards each time you surveil. And then we've got Doom Whisperer here. Pay 2 life, surveil 2. You can do this at instant speed, so technically you can do it to set up a really great miracle at the start of your, before you even draw your first card for your turn. Athreos Shroud Veiled here. At the beginning of your end step, put a coin counter on it, and then whenever a creature with a coin, put a coin counter on target creature, and then whenever a creature with a coin counter on it is put into exile, return it to the battlefield under your control. So one, we can use this to steal stuff, or we could use it to protect our Aminatou and our like a commander and stuff, because we really want to keep her out. Demon of Fate's Design. So once during your turn, you can pay an enchantment spell for paying its mana cost, paying life equal to its mana cost instead. Again, because we've got big enchantments, this is going to be really great for that. Alright, so Winter is the face commander for the Death Toll one. He has Death Touch whenever he attacks, mill 3. And then at the beginning of your end step, you may exile any number of cards from your graveyard with 4 or more card types among them. If you do, put a permanent from among them onto the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Keep in mind that this is permanent cards, so you can technically like bring back any kind of permanent, an artifact, an enchantment, whatever. I think this one's a bit boring, to be honest. I like Merrin a lot more. If, like, I wanted to play like Resurrection, Reanimation in Golgari colors, but I don't know. I think there could be uses for it, especially because it can bring back any kind of permanent. So as for like choices here, first of all, kind of stuff to get rid of those finality counters. Nesting Grounds to put it onto opponent stuff, or Feign the Broker, turn those finality counters into treasures. We've got the Conjurer's Closet. Anytime you exile something and then bring it back, it is going to get rid of those finality counters on it. Some more mill stuff. Ripples Undeath. I can talk about Ripples Undeath forever. It is an amazing mill card. You mill 3, and then you can pay 1 and 3 life, put something back into your hand. Really great kind of mill card that lets you bring stuff back. We've got the Liquid Tongue Talk. So this is going to turn a non-land permanent becoming an artifact until, in addition to its other types, until end of turn. I think that there could potentially be some stuff in here to do with like artifact, or caring about like different card types on the battlefield as well as in your graveyard. So I just kind of put this one in here just like a potentially useful in the future kind of thing. We've got Undergrowth Recon. Because we're milling stuff, anytime, you know, at the beginning of our upkeep, we can take a land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Biotransference. Creatures you control are artifacts in addition to their other card types, and it goes to every card, every creature card. So that means that everything now in our graveyard is going to be a creature and an artifact. So that's going to allow us to do 2 things easily with Winter, which means we're not going to have to stress too much about having to exile additional cards from it, as well as giving us the fact that every time we play a creature card or artifact spell, we're going to lose 1 life and create a token. Life from the Loam, just one of the best kind of mill cards, as well as the fact that it's going to get us back our lands that we're milling. Scavenger's Talent, I think, is really great. Makes us, we can either mill ourselves or we can mill opponents, and then we're going to get foods as well, and another way to be able to bring things back from the graveyard. 6, everything in our graveyard having retrace. I don't know. I think 6 is really underrated. I absolutely love him, especially within my Yuma deck. He's just great within that, but there's just so many great uses for this, giving everything retrace. Aftermath Analyst. enters battlefield, mill 3, and this is like a win con in my Yuma deck, but honestly, in any kind of Golgari or any kind of graveyard mill deck in green, this is going to be useful because you're just going to be able to bring back so many lands at once. You can do this as well as an instant speed, so you can do this at like, you know, your the person before you's end step, and just do that, bring all these stuff back, and then boom, have an explosive turn and win. Out of the Tombs, again, an amazing mill card. You're going to mill a lot, and it kind of ramps up each turn. But then also at the end, after you like have milled through everything, then you're going to be able to return creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield too. Tortured Existence. This is another way to bring stuff back from our graveyard to our hand, as well as put something in there to be able to resurrect as well. Vorinclex, I love this Vorinclex for this deck because it's going to let us mill stuff over here and then be able to bring things back from the graveyard as well, like things that get milled there, as well as just, you know, ramp and let us kind of battle things later on. All right, now for the Vel'Gavoth. So he has flying, ward, pay 2 life. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1/+1 onto him and draw a card. So in a turn cycle, so say you play him, and then on each person's turn, they're going to at least lose 1 life. This is at most for a turn cycle. He gets 3 +1/+1s, and you draw 3 cards. I don't know. I don't like the fact that it's during each of their turns. I think it's just whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during a turn, I think would be better. I don't know. I just think that honestly, it's just worse than Ob Nixilis. Ob Nixilis is whenever one or more opponents each lose exactly 1 life, put a +1/+1 onto him, and then exile the top card of your library, and then you can play it until the next turn. So it's drawing cards, which is different to obviously Impulse Draw, but this can proc multiple times per turn. And on anybody's turn, it can proc. There's just so many ways that this, I think, is just a better version of Vel'Gavoth. Maybe, I guess, if you're doing stuff like to do with drawing cards, then this would be better. Like if you're punishing drawing cards, which is the kind of thing that I'm going to lean into more here. But personally, I just think Ob Nixilis is better. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Ob Nixilis is better or Vel'Gavoth? So we've got Bogus God of Slaughter here. So during each person's upkeep, deals damage to them unless they sacrifice a creature. We've got Sunspine links here, making it so that players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented, and then it's going to deal damage equal to the number of non-basics that player controls when it enters. Ascent into Avernus. This is my favorite card of all time. It's going to speed up the game so much. It does stuff to do with this like group slug theme that's going on, where it's making sure that everyone's getting damage and stuff, including yourself. It's going to give you a whole bunch of treasures to do stuff. It's really great. Underworld Dreams, whenever an opponent draws a card, deal 1 damage to them. I put Sulfum here, but literally any of these kind of things that like increase the amount of non-combat damage or stuff like that is going to be helpful on opponents. You don't want it to be on everyone. You just want it to be on opponents to make it kind of asymmetrical, because otherwise you're going to be taking more damage too. Bloodletter of Alclazos does essentially the same thing, except it's just doubles the amount of life they lose. We've got Starscream, Power Hungry. Whenever you draw a card, if you're the Monarch, target opponent loses 2 life. So this is what I was talking about, like procking off of you drawing stuff. You have to be the Monarch for this to work, but it's still pretty decent, and I think it works well with Vel'Gavoth. Great Unclean One. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life, and then you create a black demon creature token based on whoever has less life than you. Plague Spitter. At the beginning of your upkeep, deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. Now, the reason I thought about this, I just thought it would be interesting to kind of combine this and then put on top of a Basilisk Collar. So that way it's got Death Touch on this, deal 1 damage to each creature and player, as well as the fact that you'll heal a whole bunch. So it's going to like, it will unfortunately kill itself. So you'd have to give it Indestructible, and then you'd have to give Vel'Gavoth Indestructible if you want to keep him out. But I just thought it would be really funny as like a backup thing. If not, you know, it's still that kind of group slug kind of thing. We've got Zamone. So Zamone is the face commander for the jump scare one. And this is, I think, I was very much on Vel'Gavoth and the kind of group slug to start with until I saw the card, and potentially the 99 will kind of change that around or something to me. I do like Aminatu, but I think Zamone's kind of the one that's capturing my attention at the moment because I thought it was really interesting. So she's got landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, manifest dread, which means you're going to look at the top 2 cards. You're going to put one manifested on the battlefield and one into your graveyard. Otherwise, you can turn a permanent you control face up. So let's have a look. First of all, Eudora. Eudora is insane in this deck because then it's whenever a non-token creature dies, it's going to come back as a forest land face down, and then you can use Zamone to flip it. Right? So this is, as well as the fact that it comes back as a forest land, which means it's going to proc Zamone. So it's just, yeah. That means that a board wipe is essentially irrelevant to you. This is what I really like this Zamone deck. I don't think this is going to be reprinted just because it was reprinted within the Call of Mana disguise deck. We'll see. We've got Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. So my brother pointed this one out to me. It makes all non-token creatures lands. So that means whenever your morphed creature enters, it is technically a land as well, which means that it will proc that landfall. Vanifer makes it so you can cloak a card from your hand, or you can put +1/+1s on each colorless creature you control. Ugin's Mastery, this again was reprinted within the MKM one, so I doubt it, but and the colorless creature is not the important part, it's this part here, just letting us turn something face up, face down, face up. Scroll of Fate, manifest something from your hand. Boom. Again, this one was printed within the MKM one. Kozilek is whenever you cast it, up to 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hand. So you can manifest your own stuff or you can manifest other people's stuff. But the important part here is the colorless creatures getting +3 and +2. Seedborn Muse makes it so that you untap all your permanents. So you can, so say for example, the Scroll of Fate, untap that, boom, manifest again. Spelunking makes it so all our lands enter untapped. This is important, especially, it lets us save on our mana base if we want to upgrade our mana base. Also, we get to put a land from our hand onto the battlefield. Just lets us, I like this card for us allowing us to be able to save on our mana base, but mostly it's just going to be good for making it so that any lands that are in our graveyard and we bring back are going to be untapped. The thing is, I think that this deck, I think everyone looking at this deck is kind of looking at the first part of it where you've got the landfall and the manifesting dread. So it's like face down, face up stuff. But there's also the fact that this is a graveyard deck potentially, right? This is potentially a graveyard deck because of the fact that we are going to be chucking stuff into our graveyard. There is potential that we could do some really cool graveyard stuff with this. So on the trail is just whenever you draw your second card, put a land on the battlefield tapped. That would enter untapped then, boom. Copy her trigger, so that way you trigger it again. But this part here, I'll get to the graveyard stuff soon. This is important, the Primordial Mist. So it is at the beginning of your end step, you manifest the top card of your library. But this part is important, the exile a face down. So they describe this deck as having tricky instance, right? Tricky instance, therefore, spell slinging kind of partial stuff there. This is going to let us be able to actually flip those essentially, right? So they're going to be manifested on the battlefield. You exile it, face up, and then you can cast it for this turn. That is just really, really great because it's going to allow us, again, to be able to cast those instants and sorceries that you might have manifested onto the battlefield. So we're turning our creatures, when you manifest Dread, you can put a creature into your graveyard that you could then potentially bring back later on, and then put an instant onto the battlefield, have Primordial Mist out, exile that, and then bring it back and play it as, a counterspell or something like that. Who knows? We've got this Cyber Ship going to let us be able to steal opponent's stuff, become anonymous, exile one creature that you control, and then 2 creatures from the top into a face down pile, shuffle them, and then cloak them all. So that's going to let us be able to manifest cloak 2 additional things. Gossip's Talent. So this as well, the bottom part here, whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you can exile it, then return it. When a creature that is face down gets exiled and then comes back, it is now face up. Boom. As well as the Surveil, I think Surveil is really important too. Displace a kitten whenever you cast a non-creature spell. Do essentially that. Exile it, then bring it back. So, boom. Now we're going to be able to, again, flip things really easily. Dock Arlock. So this is what I was talking about from the graveyard stuff. Because we're going to be chucking a lot of stuff into our graveyard, potentially, whenever we, like, Manifest Dread. There's going to be other stuff that Manifest Dread. I doubt this deck is really going to have, like, Morph cards, or, like, direct Morph, or direct, Disguise. It's instead going to be Manifest Dread, or Manifest stuff. This is going to let us be able to play those cards from the graveyard. And then Leah is going to give us all our instants and sorceries flashback from our graveyard, which is really, really helpful. And Experiment 12 as well. This is the only disguise one that I kind of looked at here, because I like the idea, instead of kind of leaning more into the manifest and cloak and stuff. When it or another creature you control is turned face up, put +1/+1s on that equal to its power. So it's going to be able to essentially double the power of everything. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.